A Day of Gimli. Imagine a world of consciousness wherein everyone can understand and speak to animals, know the weather forecast and even change it, read the history of remote worlds across the vast stretches of galaxies in the universe by omniscient faculties, and embrace a shared respect for existence and all of life by the simplest properties of a more highly evolved human mind. The immortal realms open in the heavens and the earth to commune with men and women, and children know their mothers and fathers, and their mothers and fathers, and there is nothing to divide peoples or locations. For the entirety of nations' intentions has only a minute place in the chapter of our history thousands of years from now. If you have just had a glimpse of this future world I have described, then I'd like to welcome you to the world of Vril and a moment in time in the day of Gimli. Tonight on Planet Vrilock Psionics podcast, lords and ladies, boys and girls, and furry friends, Herr Doctor bids you welcome. All of what I have just described to you is in this world of enlightenment and prosperity. It's not only desirable, but it is also possible. Yes, it's possible. We'll simply have to look at the tools for making it happen. Are you with me? Good. Let's delve into the how-to, get us there kinds of details. Yeah, we need to be freed up from unnecessary labors, free to chase delightful diversions, and even pursue the more prosperous avenues life might otherwise be unable to offer us. For decades, we've been unable to acquire this. For decades, we've been able to operate psionics in pseudo-worlds or virtual realms, albeit often enjoying meeting new minds, otherwise seemingly non-existent beings of fantasy outside the spheres of mysticism. Yet, a global prosperity requires something more true and real than digital realms, although digital realms are quite real in other respects, mental landscapes and two-dimensional patterns revealing unlimited possibilities for consciousness. And of course, I speak of magic here. Vril is a shared life force. In contrast, this makes it quite real, and therefore by other factors more true than the world magics and their various religions. The territory of Vril are the chanting of the ancients, their songs, frequency and vibration, and of course the glorious immortal spirits, men and women called the gods and goddesses once upon a time. Now then, the tools for working Vril is, as a matter of course, the Elder Futhark. This means runes you will become familiar with. Runes are cosmic sounds in their expansive form and come together in a physical form as these rune forces coalesce. Runes are the cosmic coding of the world, though they are not recognized universally in today's world, and they are given to an outdated ideology. Nothing, however, could be further from the truth. Time and contemporary fashionable views have no place in the truth, and runes are truth. You may have heard or read about the term runestave. This is the written or carved or sculpted representation of the original rune code. And, of course, as with all peoples in the world, these rune staves are merely the expression of one culture which branched out to populate the many peoples of the world. And in time, expressions of the original message of the runes does indeed transform, as it is passed through the song of many tribes, villages, and peoples to take on new forms and new cultural interpretations of that truth, as it applies to them. Indeed, it is important, however, to know that when the world was young, the runes were already old, and the age of the runes we might attempt to measure them while standing at the pinnacle of our times, but they are immeasurable. That is to say, they are immeasurable, for they existed before space and time as we can conceive of such boundaries in our level of experiences in the world we accept. But know then, there are many worlds and experiences that you do not yet realize and cannot, as of yet, own. The world's religions and sciences have hitherto glimpsed the grand awesomeness of reality. Yet, when we cease to give up our strength for a collective pool offered before false gods, or cease to render our hard earnings to the property of the state, then and only then we will begin to mend and heal. Now, when we do heal ourselves, the truth will begin to open our mind's eye to a much bigger picture of a wondrous paradise. As it is, we stand at the threshold of the all possible. Yet, cobblestone steps bruise our bare feet when we tread into the world of mystery. And yet that is where we must go. And on the path, our feet are made hard by our earthing footfalls. You may use the tools, as we know, of the runes, but you must be willing to receive their answers, their knowledge, the strengths which will be presented to you. Thus far, the majority of people have been so conditioned into a perpetual state of weakened submissiveness to the God we call the state, or whatever entity the Almighty State places before us. Yes, whatever entity the Almighty State places before us on our tax-paid altars. Or, if that word offends you, I substitute a modern variant. Perhaps you would prefer the term television, for that is where you will sacrifice much of your life's energy. Rune power is a choice. Speaking with the ancient Aesir is a choice. Becoming a self-empowered person is, as you may have guessed, it is also a choice. To be more precise, I should say that it is your choice. A majority of people feel that this is giving up a pastime. Yes, the pursuit of the runes is giving up a pastime, like your hobbies of playing a video game or watching television. But I find that when I make this choice to sit down and quietly meditate with the runes or chant their names, that if I'm willing to give it a couple of minutes, I suddenly feel a change of mood, mind, and body. The anxieties diminish. Surprisingly, yes, there are a lot of anxieties that we carry around with us all day, and we wonder why. These anxieties diminish with the runes. And as instinct awakens, I am rewarded with insight. On that length, I have an experience which was much more fulfilling and rewarding than watching the television or playing a video game before going to bed. So I often recommend my students take the runes to bed with you, in your mind. For me, the Vril has changed my view of the world, and indeed my life. Now, a worldwide Vril would be ideal, wouldn't it not? And it would be possible if we had simply more people join in this time of chaos, transition periods. And I might speak more at what the transition period is. We have hard transitions and we have soft transitions. Now, hard transitions would be an example of something like the war in the Russo-Ukrainian War, happening as we speak. It is a hard transition. A soft transition would be more at, say, the big tech giants accepting cryptocurrency as payment and moving from Web 2.0 to Web 3. And society changing its interface with the internet, moving out of going to Google to search something to having instead your own personal AI agent, which anticipates what your interests and needs are and then adapts to the things that you like or don't like. Those would be called soft transition. Moving into a new area of fin technology or financial technology and so on. Now, new tools present themselves. I've spoken of these technical changes in the world which are being bent by psionics every day, by my psionics, and now by my club members embracing psionic Vril on the psionic rune might. Vril flows throughout the entire universe, ordinarily and naturally. And it courses in our veins, in our bodies, but in our solidified world of Earth, we call this plane, ordinarily we would call it Midgar, although technically we are still, most of us, at the stage of just awakening in hell. We must call up the old songs of the rune gods to awaken our level of reality to this coming day, of which we know as Gimli. It is the day of knowing the gods, because we are of the gods, and it is not too far of a stretch to say we are potentially the gods. In closing of tonight's conversation, I ask that you might contemplate the lore and mystery surrounding the god Thor. Yes, Almighty Thor, right out of Marvel Comics, except that in his image, this is the masterpiece. He is the perfection of balance between fire and ice, and more so, his composition of strength and righteous courage is an expression of the joined powers of the gods and the giants, the primordial forces. For Thor's mother was a giantess, but Thor is not a monster. No, he's not a monster with some insatiable lust for the blood of mortals, nor is he a fiend desiring medieval punishments upon those who live and love well. Although other religions might see that as justified. It is the might of the lovable red-bearded Thor. Yeah, I know Marvel Comics portrays him as a blonde, but he is a red-beard, whom is the perfect picture of the empowered man. And it is of Freya and Frigga whom fulfills the iconic visage of the free but principled woman. Your freedom, lords and ladies, begins with a realization that you are worth your own investing in. That is to say, that you are made to improve yourself. The current religions have us making errors, but then simply writing it off at confession. And let us be honest. Such a system of world religions in the monotheism has left ample room for criminality and abuse. Has it not? In contrast, in Vril, we are responsible first to ourselves, and then by extension to our families and communities. We may one day achieve World Vril, a day of Gimli, but it is important to know that the true goal is to begin with yourself and work inward, making that inner trek before venturing outward. For if we so desire to change the world now, let us first change what is within ourselves. And when we have at length achieved this transition of self, the transformation, we may see something very, very different than when we had first peered out our metaphorical window upon a foreign and strange world, seemingly isolated and devoid of the human soul that we call the woad. If you've learned something new tonight, please begin your journey. Begin by watching my video course on rune power. It's called Vril, Fire and Ice. Go to Vrilock.com and get the video course. Follow me on my app. If you need to find me, learn more information, subscribe to the newsletter, Vrilock.com, so you have the latest updates in the world of Vrilock, Vril power, and psionics. And let us make ourselves a better world, free of the totalitarian liars, the elite vampires, and ruthless dictators that we all would like to see fall off the nearest cliff or be smashed by the powerful hammer of the almighty Thor. Until next time, my friends, I want to remind you all to keep the magic high. This is Herr Doktor von Vrilock, signing out.